Hey everyone, and welcome to the very end of the Barnes & Noble Criterion 50% off sale. I actually have a few things to show you besides that, but I have a big haul of Criterions to show you. A lot of them I have seen because I've been watching them as I've been getting them, which is really great, so I can tell you more about it. But I also got a couple of other things to show you too, and I wanted to show you and share with you the things that I picked up during the very end of the sale. It's going to go on until a few more days in August, so I'll be putting this up on the 31st. And so yeah, I'm excited to share with you what I picked up. Before we get into the Criterions that I picked up, I actually have a few Blu-rays to show you. I only have two. The first one I picked up is The King of Comedy. This is a Martin Scorsese film with Robert De Niro and Jerry Lewis, and it's a comedian film. It's actually one of the shortest films that Martin Scorsese has done. I noticed that this is a really short length for him, and that's kind of unusual in my opinion, and I really don't know much about this film, although I have heard so many great things about this movie. Scorsese definitely sold it to me, De Niro as well, and Jerry Lewis. But I believe this is kind of a little bit along the lines of what Jerry Lewis's career was like. So I'm excited to see The King of Comedy and check this movie out. Next, I picked up a sci-fi classic from 1951 that inspired one of my favorite, if not my favorite, horror movie of all time. This is The Thing from Another World. And that inspiration was John Carpenter's The Thing in 1982. And then it had a prequel in 2011, which was but this one, I haven't seen this one. But this film, unlike The Thing from 1982, this movie is about a monster from another world. Obviously, the thing from another world, you don't exactly know what, and it is harassing these group of men up in this very isolated area, and so that's kind of where this drew its inspiration. And honestly, it's one of those sci-fi classics that I'm really looking forward to checking this film out and honestly just diving deep into it. So yeah, I'm excited to have this one and finally bought it. It's in the Warner Archive collection too, so I've been collecting those. And so anyway, let's get to the Criterions. So speaking of Warner Archive, I actually have skipped out on the Warner Archive sale, the Arrow sale, the Kino Lorber sale. I think they all had sales going on, but because this entire month I've been trying to save money. However, I've been spending a little bit of my paycheck each week getting some Criterions, and so that's what I'm going to show you. So the first Criterion that I want to show you is a box set I picked up, and I've been watching this with my roommate, Casey, and we've been watching these subsequently and in order. I think he's missed a couple, but I've been watching them occasionally, and that is Wolf and Cub. This is based on a manga. This is made in the early 70s, like 1971 or 2, and this is just about Ito Game and his son Daigoro. And his son Daigoro is about a year old, maybe a little bit less than that, but the story kicks off. This is 6 films, 7th if you count Shogun Assassin, which is a remake of the first 2 in English. So this story is about a son and his father and that relationship, and the father, Ogami, he is actually the former executioner for the Shogun, and his wife is murdered and just set off this chain of events that pretty much transpire into a revenge flick. And I know I talked a little bit about it with my friend Tuck in the last Criterion collection video that I did my Criterion Closet picks. We talked a little bit about the stylized elements of Japanese cinema that I think is really awesome, especially the blood and the gush and the very vibrant colors. You can just tell based on this cover alone, which is a gorgeous cover by the way, that this is a very stylized film, and these are stylized films in general. But this is a very simple setup of revenge. This is a very tried and true kind of, you're recycling the revenge trope through each of these films. And so each of these films is Lone Wolf and Cub, Sword of Vengeance, the first one, Baby Cart at the River Styx, Baby Cart to Hades, Baby Cart in Peril, Baby Cart in the Land of Demons, and White Heaven and Hell. And I've only seen the first 4 films of this, and I've been watching them with my roommate. Like I said, I think my favorite ones have been pretty much the first one and the last one I watched, the 4th one. I think it opens up with a woman who has who's just bare-breasted, just out there fighting and pretty much slaying all of these men, but it's because they're in awe of the sexual nature of this woman who is also an assassin. She's got a tattoo right by her breast and then on her back as well. It's symbolizing pretty much she got taken advantage of, and she wants to use sex to her advantage. And I thought that was really interesting, and I really love these films, and it's definitely reminiscent of that 70s era that I think is really cool, that like Lady Snowblood followed with, and I'm really excited to check out Zatoichi when I do dive into that. So yeah, I'm excited to check out the rest of Lone Wolf and Cub, and I'm excited to have that. It's a gorgeous set too. Speaking of Japanese films, I talked a little bit about this film in the last video, and I wanted to show you it again, and that is Tanpopo. This is a 1985 classic spaghetti western about ramen and food, love, eros, all of that stuff, and sex and pleasure. This film's all about pleasure. I already talked a little bit about it with Tuck, like I said, and I'm just really in love with this film, and I think it has a lot of elements of comedy, wholeheartedness, and just makes your belly full. It makes you hungry too. I'm actually hungry right now. I'm gonna eat some food after I make this video, but I'm really excited to have this film. I watched it on the channel as it was coming my way, and I just really love it. And I can't wait to watch the extras with it as well. And yeah, it's just a really good film. I highly recommend you check this movie out. Juzo Itame, in 1985, created this film, and so yeah, this is a really good movie. Next, we're going to move on from there to a film that came out not that long ago, in 1986. Next, we're going to move on to a film that came out in 1986, not that long ago, and that is David Lynch's Blue Velvet. So initially, I watched this movie. I didn't like it at all. I used to have the old Blu-ray. I bought it, and I rewatched it again on the channel, and I realized that I like it a little bit more. I've been getting to understand David Lynch a little bit more, even though I think the whole thing is you're not supposed to understand David Lynch. I have no idea. I used to really not care much about him, but Blue Velvet is one of the more straightforward films that David Lynch has crafted, and I think it has some of those story elements that I really enjoy, but it definitely felt like upon first viewing that this is like a television film. It felt like it was a TV movie, like Twin Peaks episode, which I still haven't seen Twin Peaks, so I gotta watch those. I still need to see Elephant Man and Eraserhead, I know. But my favorite, Mulholland Drive, is probably my favorite movie from Lynch. But besides that, I think I just need to revisit some of his other films and also just watch some of his movies that I haven't seen. So I got Blue Velvet, excited to have that one. So the next movie I'm going to talk about is the debut film by Carlos Regadas, and it's Japan. And this came out in 2002, and it is a gorgeous film shot in 16mm and is a really tough movie to watch. And it is about a man who comes to this valley, the secluded valley from Mexico City, kind of near it, and he talks to this woman who he stays with, and he reevaluates his situation. It's a very psychological and spiritual journey, this film. It's a gorgeous one as well. It's a really hard movie to watch as well. It's got elements of neorealism to it. But I really enjoyed it, and honestly, I can't wait to watch it again and really just explore the elements to it. And actually, there's a really strange scene in here. There's some animal cruelty in it, and I don't know if WWF or whatever organization takes care of animal rights. That something happens in this. It's really gruesome, and honestly, I was like, whoa. But it's stuff that people have seen before. So honestly, I'm just living in this, this nice house and doing these nice things and keeping myself away from these things, right? But yes, I can't wait to watch Japan again. Next is a film that is by Robert Altman, and I really love his movies, and this movie is Nashville. This came out in 1975. It is a long, epic film with a lot of cast members and a lot of different people, all ranging from country singers to a BBC, maybe, reporter. We don't know if she actually is a reporter for BBC. She keeps saying that. But there's all of these just crazy things going on in this movie. It goes from the political to the social elements of the time period that it came out in, and also it hits that music scene. There's a lot of music in this movie. I think over an hour of music is just in this film. Just alone, you just see the performances and the cast members, go in and out, dip in and out of this film. And there's only a few people who are probably throughout the entire movie, but there are a lot of people, and it follows a lot of different things. And so it's really fun. It's a really good time. It's got some light elements to it. It's got some really dark elements to it too. Like I said, it's a political film and a social film at that too. And it's talking about the time period that this movie came out in and the stuff that happened in the 60s that were really tumultuous. And so I understand what the appeal of this movie is. It's a really fun one. Robert Altman directed Nashville, and I love it. All right, next we're moving on to a film that I actually watched on the Criterion channel. This is the first movie that I watched on the channel, actually, because it was really short and I didn't have much time, and that is Detour. So this came out in 1945, and I believe this is one of the first film noir films, and it's just one of those B movies that really hadn't been heard of from a lot of people until Criterion, and I'm sure a lot of people who have heard of the film know about it and kind of bolstered it up. I love this gorgeous cover. This cover is just really fantastic. It's directed by Edgar Ulmer, and it's starring Tom Neal as this New York pianist. He's on his way to Los Angeles, and he's just pretty much hitchhiking the entire way, and he gets in a situation, and it gets really, really crazy from there. But it's short and sweet. It's only 69 minutes, so I thought it was going to be 70 minutes or something like that. But yeah, it's just really short, and it's really compact, and I think it's a really fantastic film. And I know I'm jumping around, but the cover reminds me of The Highway, right? So you got that black asphalt and that, you know, yellow stripe. So it's really, really cool. I'm excited to own this movie and, yeah, watch it again. All right, next we're going to move to some horror films. The first one is the debut film by George A. Romero, and that is Night of the Living Dead. This movie came out in 1968, and really, really great film that has political and social implications. You have a main character who's black, Dwayne Jones, who really is the lead of this film, and he's the one who's the hero taking out these zombies, and it's just a, you know, a metaphor for race. And so this is a very tumultuous film. It's a very important film. It's preserved, I believe, by the American government as one of those classic films in the National Film Registry, and I'm just really happy to finally have this. I know Amazon and Barnes & Noble have had this on sale for a long, long time, and so I finally picked it up, and I'm really happy to own it, and I really love this movie, despite my disdain for Barbara, who just shrieks the entire time, and I realize that that is a trope that women did back in these films, but it's something that I'm glad I don't miss, so yeah. Anyway, it's a really great film. I really love the opening scene with Barbara and her brother, and it really just sets the tone of the entire film, this survival film. Yeah, it's really great. I'm really excited to watch it again. Tell me some zombie movies down below to check out based on this. I'm not too familiar with zombie movies, so I really want to know your thoughts down below. Sticking with the vein of horror, we're actually going to move on to another sci-fi horror film, and that is The Blob. This came out in 1958. It's Steve McQueen. This is one of his first films, if not his first film. He is playing a high schooler who he looks much older than he actually is, but that's a trope that pretty much Superbad and every other movie that you've seen about high school is, right? But this is a really great film. I really loved this movie, and honestly, it would be a really good double feature with A Thing from Another World, probably. But I really love this version, which I actually have not seen the 80s version of this film, but this one's a little bit of a slow build-up. It's more of like a mystery. You kind of know about this substance from space that crashed down and has, you know, from a meteor, and consumed this guy's arm and this farmer, and it just slowly takes over this town. And you can see it's more of a talkie than anything else. It's more of a drama with Steve McQueen and his girlfriend, pretty much people not believing that there's this thing that's coming after them. And I really love it. It's like a mystery with all those elements to it, and I think it's got some really cool scenes in it and really groundbreaking effects for the time period as well. And you can just tell that Steve McQueen will be a good actor from this point on. So I'm really excited that I own this movie, and it's just a really, really fun film to watch. Next are some films that I haven't seen. So these are some movies that I did pick up that have been on my list for quite some time. And the first one is by a legendary directing tag team, and that is Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger. My apologies. I've seen The Red Shoes, right? And so I really was impressed by that film. I even own Life and Death of Colonel Blimp, but I have not seen it yet. But I also got Black Narcissus. And so this film came out in 1947. I really do not know anything really at all about this, but I just really love The Red Shoes so much that I wanted to check out other stuff from these directors. And so this is something that I'm really wanting to explore and really wanting to look more into. I know I want to get A Matter of Life and Death and other films that this duo has done, because I've heard such a phenomenal and astonishing things from these people. So Black Narcissus has been on my radar for a long time, so I'm excited to check that one out. Next, we're moving on to a film that Chris and I have been talking about quite a bit, because we've been talking about some Sidney Poitier films. We talked about A Raisin in the Sun, because it got released last year, I believe. And another film, In the Heat of the Night, is another film that I wanted to pick up, and I know it was a recent release as well. And this is something that Chris and I think we want to double feature. And I really know not much about this film. I just know that this film is about race relations, and I'm just really excited to check out this film and kind of just get a little bit more knowledge about 1967. So all these things that I picked up are very in tumultuous years and very groundbreaking social and political movies, right? that's kind of what my theme of this video is, I guess. And then the last thing that I picked up was actually at my own Barnes & Noble. If you've seen my channel, I don't have any movies at my Barnes & Noble. There's like a little rack, but I was surprised to see this movie, and everybody in my communities that I've been following have been talking about this movie, and it's a recent release from Criterion, and that is Klute. This has got Donald Sutherland and Jane Fonda, and apparently Jane Fonda won an Oscar for this film, and so I'm really excited to check this movie out. Like I said, I've just heard the fervor of it from other people, and I'm just excited to check this movie out, and it came out in 1971. So thank you so much for checking out this video. I know it was short and sweet. I didn't get too much this month because I wanted to save up a little bit. And so I want to thank you very much for watching this video. Give me some suggestions down below based on the stuff that I've seen. Tell me about what you picked up for the Barnes & Noble Criterion sale. I know it's about to end, so I'm excited to hear what you got. Give me a like, comment down below, share this video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you next time. I'm not jonesing around.